Hello, everyone. I'm Eric, and this is Positive Tarot Wisdom. And I will be interviewing Tuned in Tarot in a minute from now. So she will be joining me today. Actually, tonight. Let's see. All right, let me just get her ready. Tuned in Tarot. Okay, I'll be inviting you in a few seconds. Hey,
Hi, how are
hello.
you? Good
Thank
to
you for
see you.
joining us to this evening.
Absolutely.
Actually,
Thank you for
afternoon
having
on
me.
your side, actually.
Yes, very hot afternoon, although not as bad as yesterday. Oh, Lord.
Well, yesterday was totally different. It was I think I had too much sun yesterday. That's it
Yeah.
wasn't so
Oh, yesterday was soupy here.
but you know what? Welcome to Positive Taroism. It's an honor to have you here,
Oh,
Tuned in
thank
Tarot,
you.
also known as Pearl. And
Thank you.
we are very happy that, we are here to witness this very rare occasion for us to interview you. It's exactly 3:33 p.m. on your side. Very
Yes.
auspicious. Very, very auspicious. Um,
Indeed.
to to give you a very short background on what happened yesterday, I was lying down. I had my yoga mat laying down on the park, just relaxing. Then all of a sudden, this little corgi landed on my face because he was catching this little frisbee full of slobber. That's what woke me up that afternoon yesterday. So
Oh, no. Rude
yes,
awakening.
so it was full of dog slobber. Okay, so why don't we go ahead with the questions? Please tell us a few details about yourself. I'm sure that
Sure.
everybody'd be interested to know more about Tuned in Tarot.
Sure. Yeah, as you said, I am Pearl, and Tuned in Tarot is something that I started more recently in my career. Prior to this, I have been a musician, and I'm the lead singer, songwriter, co-producer of the band Pearl and the Prayers. And I teach music, and I'm a production consultant for artists, teaching them how to produce themselves, as well as I teach. I just had my a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old piano
Hmm,
lessons this morning from 9 to
amazing,
10. So
amazing.
I do that too. But so that's like my day job, and that's really fulfilling, and that takes up honestly most of my time. And
Hmm.
then recently, when quarantine happened, and I had been driving for Lyft for extra money, which really I think I was just doing them a favor at the end of the
Hmm.
day. And in terms of how much money I made, I think really they had the better deal. But I had to stop doing that at the beginning of quarantine. And because of that, I had time.
Hmm.
And I've always been a reader, a tarot reader, and just kind of started experimenting with doing an account, and it turned into Tuned in Tarot, which is like it's taken off, and now I read every day, and it's like one of the highlights of my day for sure. So
Fantastic.
that's how I ended up here.
It's interesting how every tarot reader has their story. So
Yes.
I personally am very interested in understanding your story, and I want to start with the most basic question. So what made you interested in tarot, or why were you drawn to tarot to begin with? I mean, it's everybody. Honestly, I have my own. I'll probably say that in the future and explain it to everyone. It's a funky situation, but yours now is the moment for you to share with everyone. I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I'm sure. So
Sure.
how did it happen? I mean, what made you interested and why were you drawn?
Well, so I initially was raised, I had a very, I would say, religious and spiritual family, because I think
Hmm.
those things can sometimes be mutually exclusive. But in my case,
Correct.
I was blessed with both. And I was raised Catholic, but my maternal grandmother and my mother were both very much into like the visions of Mary. My mother more so than my grandma, but she had a devotion to Saint Anne and and Saint Teresa, the Little Flower, and then my mother was very much into like apparitions of Mary. So while I
Mm.
had to do like all of the regimented, regular normal Catholic, go, receive all the sacraments, do everything like you're supposed to as a Catholic, I also had this other perspective, which was one that was just a little bit more esoteric.
Hmm.
And a bit more spiritual and connected to something that was deeper within just practicing this religion.
Right.
So, and alongside of that, my best friend when I was in middle school, which is such a formative time for a person, was Muslim and was pretty spiritual and devout herself. And I grew up in a very small town. We did not have a very diverse community. So to meet somebody from a completely different faith was unique. And I was really interested in her faith and drawn to it. And so that opened me to being an open vessel for learning about
Right.
all kinds of spiritual practices. But it really wasn't until I was in my early 20s, I had moved to Michigan because my ex-husband was getting his PhD in biochemistry at the time. And I had finished a degree in art history. And so I had a background in art and I loved like visual arts, in addition to being a musician. And I ended up in a little shop in Ann Arbor, Michigan called Crazy Wisdom, which was just the coolest little shop. And they had everything. They had a cafe and they had all these really spiritual books. And because it was a college town, they were actually pretty advanced books too. It wasn't just like generic witchy books. And it was all kinds of faiths and all kinds of deep information on them. So I would go there and hang out and kept kind of like being interested in the witchy stuff, but being a little bit like, it's stupid, you know, and I think a little scared to
Right.
venture there from my background being kind of like anti that sort of thing. And my deep love of Buffy the Vampire Slayer just eventually just pushed me. I would just loved the magic in that show. I found it so fun. And
Right.
finally I just started to read some of the books there, and I got my first deck, which is still here with me, my Rider-Waite. And that's what you read from. So I always see her.
Yes.
My good old Rider-Waite from your account. I got that deck and I was scared of it at first, honestly. I think a lot of readers are, and I had no idea how to use it. I pretty much just used the book and I would try to decipher the strange little book that comes with it that was, you know, really, it's like from the 70s and like makes little sense.
Right.
But I didn't start building a confidence until many years later. My sister, who's a decade younger than me, had already been doing cards for years. We would read for each other. And I started to have other experiences that opened me up to the possibility that I was a medium. But not like, because it wasn't a typical mediumship where I was like seeing, you know, people that had passed or
Yes.
feeling that like it wasn't just something like it's just standard. I didn't really interpret what was happening as channeling. So I didn't realize I was good at channeling. But I started to learn more about what was happening for me. It was a musical channeling I was doing. And I started to realize that that same channeling I was doing was happening when I was reading, and that it was the same thing that was happening when I was writing music. And I would go to write a song, and I would feel like, I don't know how to write music, which at this point, I went to Berklee College of Music. I know
It's
how to
ironic,
do it.
very ironic, right?
But I feel this like emptiness almost, like everything I know pours out of me. And then I just start doing something and I just obey. And that's kind of what happens in a reading. So I realized how very enmeshed those two things are. And I became very peaceful with reading, and it just opened me up. And now I understand myself and the world so much better through these archetypal images that show us what's going on in our energies, because however we see them, however we interpret or feel when we look at the card, that is just this like window into what's going on in our brain, which we keep, you know, pushing aside with, oh, I have to do this, or I have to do that, or I'm so busy, or my kid needs this, or my, you know, whatever it is that we use to like block out that still small voice. The cards help us to tune into that. And so that's how I ended up becoming a reader in this fashion.
It's a fascinating story. Your experience is vast. Honestly, it's like, you know, why people are drawn to your readings, because they can relate to what has happened to your life ever since. I mean, you're 20, that was very young.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot, honestly, a lot. I can sense the energy that you've been through a lot. And that's fascinating at the same time. It's scary because you know what? Not everybody can survive what you have survived. I am certain, because it has been an interesting, and it has to be you growing up so fast just to deal with all of those type of levels of pressures. And you just mentioned Rider-Waite as your favorite tarot deck. And aside from, I mean, your first tarot deck, but
Yes,
my
my
question now
first.
is, what is your favorite right now? I mean, it's great. Rider-Waite-Smith,
Yes,
I,
Rider-Waite is
I'm
my
glad.
heart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's your first, but is it
Yes.
your favorite though?
Right. So I'm just getting into a phase where I'm collecting decks. Part of why I
Oh
was
no,
when I
don't tell
started
me you're like
to
600 decks now.
no, not at all,
Because I've
not at
seen a
all.
post about that. Seriously, I go,
Oh
what?
no, I've seen that. I've seen that.
I'm
No,
not
not at
judging.
all.
I'm not judging.
No,
It's like
no,
a
no.
vast collection. I go, wow, it's wonderful. You have
Someday.
all of that. But I go, no, not
Yeah,
for
no,
me,
no.
unfortunately. Maybe it's the masculine side of me saying, no, don't do it, Eric. Don't do it. But I
It's a
respect
deep pull.
people.
It's a deep pull.
Respect. It's just a lot.
It's the
So,
same with anything. Like when I got into knitting, it was all about yarn, you know. But
right.
I have not collected a lot of decks. I'm really just kind of starting to get some more. When I started the account,
Hmm.
I see you there, Ash. I see Ash. She knows about the decks, about the decks. But
Some
yes,
people are giving hearts right now, just giving
yes,
you a lot of love right
yeah.
now.
But I when I started the Tuned In Tarot, I originally wanted to do it because I wanted to
Hmm.
sync music with cards, like the
Of
messages
course.
for music with cards. So I did, and it was just really something fun. I didn't have any expectations, but when the account started to grow, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe I could actually have more fun with this account than I really
Hmm.
realized. The one thing that I was like, I didn't care really about, like, oh, if I make money or something, it doesn't really matter because I would do it anyway. But I was like, maybe I'll get free decks. So I do
That's
love
that
decks. I
maybe. You go
love that. Yes,
maybe.
yeah, maybe I'll get free decks. And I actually have started to get some decks. So now, right now, my favorite. So yeah, it's hard. The vice versa
Don't
tarot.
worry, they won't get jealous.
I know, I know. So the vice versa tarot I
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
saw
I
in a
saw
Mystic
that.
Mondays reading, and I remember Mystic Moon, not Mystic
Hmm.
Mondays, Mystic Moon Oracle
Hmm.
was doing a reading, and she was using this deck, and she just kind of used it. She had a bunch of different decks, and she's like, "Oh, this deck has two sides," and didn't kind of
Right.
say much more about it. And I was like, oh, wait, what? That deck has two sides? I must see this deck. So I did get this deck as a Christmas gift, and this deck catapulted me into Tuned In Tarot because I was so into the depth that you could get by seeing the perspective of the viewer normally looking at images traditional to the Rider-Waite, and then being
Hmm.
able to flip it and see the perspective of the High Priestess
Behind
and
it,
its hidden
yeah.
information. It was so
Okay.
interesting. So that was, I would say, would be my favorite, except that I just got the Mystic Mondays deck and see what happens. But the reason why this one is so great is why I love this one so much is because it offers me, it's got such different imagery
Hmm.
and just kind of takes me to a different space. And what happened when I got this deck is I realized that when I'm doing my readings, which are my style is to look at the balance of the yin yang, divine masculine, divine
Hmm.
feminine inside of self. And so some people go to those readings, like the twin flame readings, to find out
Right.
about their external romance. And
Hmm.
you can glean information from it. But the true information that I'm really revealing when I read for Source is I'm telling this story of how when you come into union in the self, which is of course the cliche, like you have to love yourself first, but it is the, but that's like one thing, you know, people are like, oh, you have to love yourself first, but then what the hell does that even mean? So my work is to show you what that means. Okay, what
Yeah.
it means is you have a desire in your heart, you have thoughts
Hmm.
in your head, and you need to bring those into union. And then you need to receive information,
Of
receive
course.
inspiration and
Hmm.
intuition from the feminine. And then you need to act with like a controlled reactivity of your emotion with your
Of
masculine side.
course. Yeah.
Then you take that information and you can say, okay, whatever's happening in me, that's happening outside of me. So if
Hmm.
my divine masculine part of myself is a wreck, can't take care of myself, can't finance, can't provide for myself,
Mm.
don't feel
Hmm.
safe, the things I associate with that energy, which again, it's energy, not gender, as you know.
Yes, of
And we all
course.
have a mixture of both. Hopefully, we're fluid because that makes the most sense to me. But
Hmm.
because it's good to flow with your energy. But getting that into union then translates to the type of people that you start to attract to you. So
Right.
when you listen to my readings, can you find out information about your long lost love that you're separated from? Sure. But the true information that you're really hearing is just where you are, and wherever you are, he's going to reflect that back to you, or she's
Hmm.
going to reflect that back to you. So when I
That's
started reading this way,
Hmm.
I liked this deck because this represented head space to me.
I see. Okay, that's
And
the
then this
trigger.
was like
Hmm.
heart space, right? So it just has a different feeling. So these are my two
Hmm.
favorites right now for two different reasons. Long
Oh,
explanation, but there you go.
but that makes so much sense because you're looking at both sides of whatever has to be addressed. That's the thing.
Yes.
That's what's nice about it, and it triggers your imagination on both sides, the masculine, the feminine,
Yes.
and it's nice that you're able to marry both sides and be able to deliver it to your querent, and
Yes.
that's what they need to understand what type of message they need to carry with them at the end of the session. And I like that tarot reading style is very intriguing, and
Thank you.
that's where we're heading. You're welcome. We're heading towards the part we're in. How do you mix and blend the music in your tarot? That's the thing. That's what made me very drawn to your page because I go, wow, this is interesting. This is new, and I go, I've never seen anything like this. And you had that energy. Frankly, you have that energy that attracts the people and inspires people to be more positive. And I love that. That's why I'm positive tarot wisdom. And I go, why shouldn't I hang out with people that have the same energy? So you're one of those people.
Thank you. I love that. And you are very positive, and I love that you asked me to do this because I also want to hang out with people that have this positive energy.
Mm-hmm. Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for saying that, that I inspire that, because that is what I hope to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in
You
terms of the
are. Trust me,
music,
you
thank
are
you.
doing it.
Thank
You
you.
are doing it.
The music thing comes from, so that as that's my heart, like that's
Mm-hmm.
where I started. I've been doing music since I don't remember not doing music ever. I
Right.
remember only times where I was like, it's hard and I don't want to do it, but I've never had a time when I wasn't really doing it. As all of my friends will testify, as like I will call them and be like, so I'm quitting, and then like a week later be like, oh, I just wrote this, you guys want to hear it? And they'll be like, oh yeah.
Mm.
So it's always been a part of me, and it makes sense that I would blend it with anything else I did. But the way that it happened in this case is my sister and I, for years, have always played what we called the shuffle game.
Mm.
And either when we were alone or were hanging out together, we would put on our music from our libraries on whatever streaming service we use. Obviously, this was after streaming services allowed you to have exhaustive libraries, which I definitely do,
Yeah.
because my tastes are like really, really broad. So we would just hit shuffle, and then whatever song came up, we'd be like, okay, what's the message? And then a
Mm.
lot of times we would do readings, and then we would pay attention as we were doing the readings. We would, like my sister, because my sister would read for me and back and forth, and she would be saying something to me, and then we would look at each other because the song would be like whatever she was
Mm.
saying, really linked. And so we started to notice this connection, and there was a channeling aspect where I would be like, so and so send me a song, and it would come, and I would be like, oh, my divine masculine song, and so all these connections would form. So I mentioned Mystic Moon Oracles because she really is the person who I started watching doing tarot readings on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and became this resource for me to learn more about the cards, because I'm a great visual learner. My art history background, one of the reasons I did well in that field was because if my teacher held up an image and said, in 1773, so and so did such and such, then like the
Mm-hmm.
test would happen, and like the image would come up, and I'd hear the click of the slide, and the light would brighten the image, and then all of a sudden I
Right.
could hear my professor going, in 1773, da da da, and I would just like write it down like what I heard. So when I was watching her doing these readings, what I had been blocking in reading for years, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
so meticulous, and everything has to be perfect for me. My my fourth house is Cancer, which is your seeker
Mm.
identity. So that's
Mm-hmm.
like overachieving, really meticulous.
Exact
And I would try to
OCD
read.
and
Yes, exactly. And I would try to read and then be all in my head, like, oh, you missed this and you missed that and you missed that. So watching Mystic Moon strengthened my understanding of the imagery and just helped me to
mm-hmm.
have better recall, which
Right.
strengthened my confidence. And this is actually a tip if you're trying to learn to read. If you're an auditory learner and you learn best
Mm-hmm.
by hearing, listen to people
Mm-hmm.
who do podcasts and say, here's a podcast about the Queen
Right.
of Swords, and then you'll remember. Or if you, or like me, if it's visual, watch a reader. It's really helpful. So just
Mm-hmm.
help me build my confidence and recall. And then because I was so fascinated with this twin flame story she was saying, and I would listen to it and be like, oh, oh my God, like it's exactly me. And so of course you're just so interested in learning about yourself because that's how we are.
Right.
I became really enmeshed in her, these readings and started to like learn all these things. And she would frequently post music that she liked
Mm-hmm.
and would get messages from. And when I decided I would start an account, I thought, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to shuffle my library so I can have songs like I like and then curate these playlists for everyone to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first card I pulled for the account was the Fool. And I laughed when I
Interesting.
pulled it because it was
Very
the
interesting.
beginning of my account. And so
Mm-hmm.
I decided that day, and this was everything that's happened with this account has been completely intuition, and then I followed it, which is
Mm-hmm.
not a thing I do a lot, by the way. I do it sometimes, and if I do it, it always works out, even if it's a little,
Right.
But in this case, it just very smoothly flowed. So I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's the Fool. I'm going to build a playlist of songs that reference the energy that
Mm-hmm.
embodies the Fool card. And so I spent way too long, maybe like 3 hours going through my entire collection, Googling lyrics for different songs because I'm like, but this, but there could
Mm-hmm.
be this, but because there's so many different things. So
Exactly.
at the end of my 3 hour excursion, I announced on my brand new account, which went from like 0 to 200 followers in a really short
Mm-hmm.
time. I'm going to make playlists for each major arcana card. And so
Yeah.
so then I was like, and then I'm going to pull songs and I'm going to shuffle the songs and then do
Mm-hmm.
readings about them, right? And I was just writing posts. I wasn't doing video.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next card comes up and I'm like ready to go. But I also
Yes.
need to get new clients because at this point in time, unemployment was not secured for self-employed
Yes.
people. And
Not
I
at
was like,
all.
cool, I just lost my main source of income and my car, and
Okay.
there's a pandemic, and there might be zombies soon. This is early in
Well,
March.
just
We didn't know what the hell.
you
So,
mentioned zombies, so look at who joined. The Walking Dead just
oh,
joined us,
there
just
we
so you
go.
know.
Absolutely. So yeah, the zombies were on their way. They were coming, and we didn't know what to expect. So I was like, it's really cool to do this account, but I can't really spend 3 hours
Mm,
every day looking up these tracks. And also, the reason why I started my account is because while I loved Mystic Moon and everything she made,
hmm.
like I had different music tastes that I also wanted to get messages from. And then I
Exactly.
thought about that and was like, this is also right around the time that George Floyd was murdered. And I
Hmm.
was reading all this content about multiple perspectives and giving people a voice that hadn't had voices. And then I thought about my playlist and I was like, this is my voice, my
Hmm.
library. The readings I had started to make videos for, those were my readings about my experience, which was totally exclusively
Exactly. Yeah.
me, which some people can relate to, some people can't. And it seemed like if my job, because it started to seem like I had a job, was to show people how to explore themselves and
Hmm.
heal, then I was only going to be benefiting one segment of the population who just happened to like hipster music from like the mid to late 90s. Like,
Right.
and then everyone else was just not going to hear my message. So I decided I would reach out and ask my followers to tell me what songs they liked,
Hmm.
and then I would make the list from their songs. And then when I shuffled, and this all happened, like I said, intuitively. It wasn't a plan. I wasn't like, okay,
Hmm.
now I'm going to do this. It was really just like, oh, cool. Now I have a list of 30 songs that took me one day to compile because everybody told me what they wanted, and I quickly filled out a list and I added all the ones I thought of myself. Now when I hit shuffle, Source gets to pick which message, which theme, which topic, which headspace or heart space that
Hmm.
I should focus on, direct my reading, and then give me insight into the person who chose it so that when they come to listen to the reading, they're now hearing a message that was exactly what they needed to hear because they're the ones who either thought of a song instantly, went through their collection and picked one because that
Hmm.
represented what they felt about the world card, for instance, which is our
Hmm.
current card. Wow, that opened up the account because as soon as I was like, hey, I have a way to give you free messages. I can't give you free readings all day because I need to find clients that
Right.
pay me
Of
because I have
course.
to eat and I needed a computer and I had to get a
Survive.
tripod and like, anytime it's like, oh, I know, Mom, I want to be a musician when I grow up. And my parents, only parents in the entire world, were like, great idea. You should be a rock star. We don't have any money though, and we have no idea how you're going to do that, but we trust that you're going to figure it out. And then I go to do that, and they're always like, why don't you have a regular job? And I'm like, because you said I should be a rock star, and I can't do both. And then they're just very confused and frustrated about that. And then you pick the career that you have to spend the most money to be. Like,
right.
My equipment costs more than any other. I studied to be a librarian for a while. You need glasses, which you need anyway, and like the books already exist. You don't have to buy them.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Career, everything you buy. So, it's like this career you invest in, and obviously I can't just give all of my time away. So it gave me this way to be able to still help people, specific people who had specific needs, and for Source to attract them to me. Like, I didn't kind of have to do any of it. I didn't have to be like, do you need a reading? It was just sort of like, Source is like,
that sounded so shady.
Right? Like, let me help you. No, it's like, Source is like, hey, this person needs a reading. So then I was like, wait a minute. If I'm doing the readings, and okay, now all of my followers have a chance to give me their songs, and I can read to them. But now they're still only hearing me. There's a whole bunch of other voices they're not hearing. They don't have a chance to hear. So then I reached out to Christine and Lauren from Pretty Spirits Co. And they are the creators of the Reconciliation deck and the Truth decks. And they're just beautiful, really cool content creators. And they have great looking content. They're really insightful. Christine is just a super intuitive reader and just filled with light. And on a whim, I reached out to them and was like, hey, do you want to take over my account and read from this playlist I made? Because I want to give other people an opportunity to speak up at this time, like during this resurgence of Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And so Christine was like, yeah. And we ended up meeting each other, talking. And then after I did that, I was like, why wouldn't I just keep doing this? So then I reached out to the community and said, if you're a reader and you want to read, I will pay you for your time to do a reading on my account. You can take over for a day, read from the playlist, and give your perspective on the world card and whatever song comes up. And then I started meeting my people, like my soul tribe. Like the people that I was like, oh, where have you been all my life? You know?
Finally, you guys showed up.
Exactly. I'm like, because I'm out of the broom closet, and I'm like, I'm a witch, and they're like, me too. And I don't have to explain myself to you, you know? So that is how I wove music in. And I continue to do that by reading from the playlist. And then when I shuffle every day, I've been doing daily readings. And when I do shuffle, my shuffle of my own music is usually playing. So I'm taking messages from whatever song. When I'm shuffling Divine Masculine's Headspace and Heart Space, there's a song. And when I switch over, there's another song. And I use that to guide my own readings. That's how I still use music.
That's actually very unique. So like folks, whoever's watching this is a very, very unique tarot reader. So if you want some spice, something interesting, go to TunedinTarot. I mean, Pearl here is a very unique tarot reader. That's my best description. So my question now is, do you have any personal messages for our fellow tarot readers and viewers that aspire to be tarot readers? I mean, I'm sure that this live broadcast would be recorded, and I mean, it's being recorded. It's going to be, I'll post this later, and people would be looking for, hey, you know what? I want to be a tarot reader because I have my level of intuition. So coming from someone who's had tarot pretty much almost like 80% of your life, what's a good message for the ones that are aspiring to be tarot readers?
Well, actually, this applies to anything you want to do. There's the now age-old from Malcolm Gladwell who made it popular idea that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something.
I believe so.
Combined with a new view that was recently, there's a really great podcast. I'm trying to think the name of it, but it's about all new innovations that happen. And there was recently a discussion where Malcolm Gladwell and this other smart person had a discussion about this new theory, which is not just that 10,000 hours creates an expert, but actually the experts are more likely to come from, they were looking at musicians who are prodigies. And they're more likely to be children who had the opportunity to play a bunch of different instruments and then hone in on one. they actually have a better opportunity to become an expert than the person that just learned Suzuki method on the violin. Like the person who has more exposure gets to an level of expertise faster. So that's a
I
new
see.
theory. And the reason I bring that up is because of this. If you think that you don't have 10,000 hours, so you can't be a tarot reader, you need to reframe that, because what you do have is 10,000 hours of a bunch of life experiences. And all of that is what makes you an expert reader, because an expert reader does this. They tap into another source. They tune into a higher source. They empty themselves of their own ego as much as they can. That's the battle that you have as a reader, as an artist, as a writer, as a person in life. Emptying yourself of the control of the ego. As you empty yourself of that, you become a vessel, and you speak with words that source inspires you to speak from, and you're constantly pulling from your experiences. That doesn't require 10,000 hours of, looking at, oh, on the High Priestess card, there's a green palm tree, and that was in the Bible passage. That is great, and that should be part of your practice, because that's going to deepen your readings. But you can be a reader right now, because all you're really doing is opening yourself to inspiration and then saying the inspiration.
Exactly.
And the other thing I would say is just to challenge yourself to be uncomfortable. Let yourself be uncomfortable. And if you pull a card and it comes out in reverse, but you feel like it should be upright, and then you start to feel like, well, I just want it upright because my ego wants the reading to be like this, and you start to have these conversations. Just simplify that into simply, I feel conflicting energy about this card. Simplify it. So then when you go to read it, don't say like, well, it came out reversed, but I don't know. All you say is, I feel some conflict about this card, but I know that when it appears upright, it means this, and when it appears reversed, it might mean this. I'm not certain here exactly how this applies for you, and it might be that you need to wait or whatever. Try not to overthink. That's like, I think, the biggest part.
Right.
Just really work on trust. And Lacey Phillips, she has a program called How to Manifest, How to Be Magnetic. It's like she does like little hypnosis sessions, and you do reprogramming the inner child and unblock things and stuff. But what she says about, I lost my train of thought. It was about not overthinking. Well, completely gone. I guess I was just supposed to bring up Lacey Phillips. Check her out. She's smart. She's got a lot of good things to say. There was something I was going to say, but I lost it.
That's okay.
No,
That's okay. Because everyone will all have this opportunity to collaborate with each other. What would happen as a next step is Pearl and I, the Positive Tarot Wisdom and Tuned In Tarot, would be doing collaborations on readings. We'll be pulling cards for everyone. So it's not going to be like every day, but there'd be moments when Pearl gets to carve out some time. I know you're super busy, and I have my day job too, but we'll pull cards for everyone and give them messages from our perspectives. So it's going to be an interesting tandem. And I personally appreciate your message. That's a very, very strong and useful message for the ones that are aspiring to be tarot readers. Even for the existing tarot readers, that's very, very good. I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, when I was a lot younger, I go, wow, reversals? I go, oh no, not reversals again. But now it's like, I go, I'm glad this showed up. But before we even go to your media information, please choose a deck right now. I have mine. I'll shuffle it real quick. Let's pull a card for everyone that would be viewing this recording and just give them our little message from each of our sides. Just really quick. Then after that, you can announce your social media platforms. Aside from Tuned In Tarot, I'm sure you mentioned that you had YouTube, but if you want to mention your IDs, that would be a very good opportunity. We'll just do top deck, I guess, if you're comfortable with that. That's the first card that we'll pull.
The top of the deck? Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, just real quick. And whoever's viewing, thank you so much for watching this whole interview. We really, really appreciate you guys. You're carving out your time for this Monday afternoon for your side and Monday evening on mine. Whoever you guys are in Eastern, thank you so much. But if you guys get a chance to watch a replay, awesome, perfect. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. So, what did you get? What do you have for our
Oh,
viewers?
I got a reversal, so
It's
that's
fine.
perfect for me. I did get the lovely Knight of Pentacles, the slowest moving knight in the deck,
Mm-hmm.
but he was reversed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I think that what the sensation I'm getting is there is something, some kind of a 3D manifestation that the viewer is waiting on, something that they've been expecting or longing to receive, and that thing has been taking a long time. And there are two messages here. One message is it is on its way and it is coming,
Mm-hmm.
and the noticing of taking a long time is in contributing to it taking a long time. So when you release this need for this to arrive and you just let it come on its own in its own good time, it will come faster than if you notice how very slowly it is moving. So that is my message from
Slow and
for the
strong.
top of the deck.
Definitely
Slow and
slow and
strong.
strong.
Yeah, slow
So,
and steady wins the race.
coincidentally, mine is also a reversal. Four of Cups in reverse.
I love that. I got that in my reading today too.
It's interesting, but
Yes.
I like them. It's supposed to be this way. I mean, upright. So it can be boredom, contemplation, thinking about what your plans are. But reverse wise can be the opposite. You're ready. You're emotionally ready to finally, manifest what you've been waiting for, and you finally see that cup. You finally
Yep.
see that cup that's been in front of you. That, you know what, I've been ignoring this piece of crap for the longest time. Now is the time for me to do it. Now's the time
Yes.
for me to manifest these things. I'm so happy that the Knight of Pentacles showed up, because even if he was reversed, he pretty much gives the same message that I was slow, but now I'm getting faster. It's the opposite of being
Yes.
slow. Let me just do this. Let me
Yes.
just make it flow forward emotionally, physically, mentally. Let's do this. And now
Yes.
for me, this is a strong message for both of us. Let's do this collaboration. Let's
I am
share the
really
messages to
excited.
everyone. And it's fantastic. I love it. I
I
love
love
the
it
fact
too.
that this showed up. So this is the portion where you get to share every single ID that you have for
All
everyone to
right.
look for.
All
Please.
right. Get your notepad apps out or whatever it is you're gonna do. No. So obviously I am Tuned in Tarot here. My YouTube account is also Tuned in Tarot.
Hmm.
And I have a Facebook page that I don't do anything with. I apologize for that, but it does exist, and it may at some point have some content, but it doesn't right now. My other life is Pearl and the Prayers. And that
Beautiful.
is
Beautiful.
my thank you. That is my band. We're a trio, and you can find me Pearl and the Prayers on Instagram and everywhere. If you're looking for us on Spotify, you have to put an ampersand, like the and
Hmm.
sign for Pearl
Hmm.
and the Prayers. Our first single we released last. It's been over a year,
Right.
August.
Well.
It's called Flesh and Bone. We wrote that, produced that, and released that ourselves, and that's available
Hmm.
there. I think that's everything. Pearlandtheprayers.com you can go to, and it shows we're on all the streaming services. So that's me.
Um, Very good. And actually, I am looking forward to maybe you give a little song piece for your viewers in the future. I'm sure everybody's going
Absolutely.
to be enjoying that, because you are full of talent. You are full
Thank
of
you.
energy, all the positivity. You just made
Thank
my
you.
evening. I love
Oh,
this.
you made
Every
mine. This was
all
really fun.
all of you, just follow Tuned in Tarot. Follow Positive Tarot Wisdom. You
Thank
will see
you.
more of us very soon. And I strongly believe that everyone deserves to receive all the positive messages, all the protective messages, all these reversals, all of these upright cards. We will
Yes.
do that for you, definitely.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
again, please visit our pages. Thank you for watching. PositiveTarotWisdom.com, Positive Tarot Wisdom, hashtag Positive Tarot Wisdom if you visit Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm mostly on Facebook, but Instagram I'm trying to grow. And for Pearl, tune in Tarot, and she has shared her social media pieces, and I look forward to collaborating with you very soon. I know you're a very busy person, but thank you. It's much love, light for everyone,
Much
blessings,
love to
and
you
thank you
too.
so much.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a good night.
Take care. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, Ash.
Take care.
Bye.